with what you're
observational data, right?
the, the problem with what you're saying is you're claiming that because gravity being, the strongest closer to the center of the mass in your viewpoint, right? You're claiming that gases, that gravity at Earth's surface where it's stronger is not strong enough to hold it. But then when it gets to the outer perimeters of the atmosphere, then all of a sudden it's going to kick in and hold it. You see the problem with that?
No. That's not what I'm saying. That the difference in gravity between the surface of the Earth and the edges of the atmosphere. So I don't know how far we can go up the atmosphere before you guys start to disagree that it's fake, right? So if we can agree that, say, is 70 kilometres, is that an acceptable place that you could say, yes, we have gone 70 k's above the surface of the Earth?
24 miles.
24 miles.
It's about 130,000 feet.
100, yeah. So, and
the point I was making earlier.
The point I was making earlier is that they say that Earth's atmosphere is moving on lockstep. It's been going for millions of years. That's how it goes. All the energy transferred from the surface, and it's all spinning in lockstep. Now, the sun's atmosphere has also been rotating against us the whole time. So has the moon atmosphere been rotating against us, and all the atmospheres never stop. They just keep going forever. So they're all rubbing against each other.
They're rubbing with almost zero force. The solar radiation is effectively the sun's atmosphere, I guess. Those solar winds or whatever they call it. That
it's not zero though. You were saying it was zero. It's not zero.
It's very close. Forever, it's so close to zero, it doesn't matter, right?
No. How do you know that?
Yeah, but also, Jeremy, we've got a heap of energy coming in all the time, right? It's not a static situation.
How do you know it's so close to zero? It's nothing. How do you know that?
Because we know what. If you're just treating it as an atmosphere, the fluid dynamics of very low density things show that there's very low forces involved. The molecules almost never collide with each other, so there's almost no frictional force between the molecules. It's purely they become effectively individual molecules just shooting around space. They stop behaving like a fluid.
Yeah, they don't lose the conservation of. Eventually, they're going to bounce into our atmosphere that's spinning from the moon, the sun. They're going to bounce into our atmosphere with their conservation of momentum and be rubbing. So, no friction, like you said. There's definitely friction there.
Yeah, but it's compared to the friction at the surface of the Earth and the amount of energy that's put in by heating the gases. It's insignificant, right? I'm sure it has an impact over millennia, but.
It's been going for billions of years. It's been happening for billions of years, right?
Yeah, but we've got the energy coming into from the sun and heating up the Earth and the generation of gases
you just backed up my point. You said if it's been happening for millennia.
Yeah, but it's not significant in the day-to-day fluid dynamics of the atmosphere and how we keep the atmosphere.
So you're not backing up my point now. Not if it was for millennia. So weird this shit you guys do. Go ahead, man. I'm good.
Yeah, I think one of the troubles we have here quite often is understanding infinitesimal influences. Things that are so small.
And it's very contradictory too. Finish up, Deza. I thought you were.
No, that's all. You go. Yeah.
I'm just saying it's very contradictory too to make. Like because they tell us that charge increases as you go higher up, and which means more charge, more energy, and and then there's this claim that you're making and that they all say, right, that gas molecules lose energy as they go up. And there's just like such a loss of energy that the gas molecules just fall back down and gravity takes over and grabs a hold of them. Well, that's contradictory to. The claim that there's more charge and it's more energetic as you go up.
Yeah. So in the atmosphere, there's a couple of things happening electric charge wise and electrical gradient wise. So close to the surface, for the first few kilometres, we have a fairly consistent potential gradient, which is the one Whitsitt likes. And as you get into higher elevations, that tapers off very rapidly because there's not enough gas to kind of support that gradient. But then you get in the upper atmosphere into the ionosphere, and the solar energy there is directly, it's energizing the gas particles and causing them to dissociate and become charged particles, and that's why you get this charge level in the ionosphere as well. So there's quite a lot going on, but that electric charge, it's got to have something to work against, right? An electric field to work against, and gravity eventually wins for gases on a whole. So the electric field is an influence on the gases, but gravity ultimately wins out. You can work this out, right? You can look at the forces, the force applied by the gradient on a charge. You can look at the gravitational force, and gravitational forces will win. On average, some will escape, some gas escapes. There's no doubt about that. Particularly stuff that's got higher up.
Daz, isn't it true like ballers don't even try to claim a locked up atmosphere anymore anyway? So
Sorry, the what? I missed that. Sorry.
the globe defenders, they can't claim or don't even try to claim a locked up atmosphere anymore.
Yeah, I guess lockstep's a tight word compared to if you look at a satellite image, right? If you look at a satellite image, a weather satellite, right? Over a period of a day, the weather doesn't move much, right? It's more or less traveling with the Earth. But there's slip, which is wind.
If the Earth is moving, otherwise it's just us. It's just not moving, and the Earth isn't moving. It could be either way, right?
Could be either way, but compared to things that we know are inertial, the Earth is rotating. But yeah, the wind, the air is by and large traveling with the Earth, but the heating of the sun is causing all sorts of flows and things to happen on top of that. So
yeah, there's so many variables, right? It's like everything has to work perfectly, but there's way too many variables, right?
Everything does work perfectly. That's why the atmosphere is what it
only
is.
if it's
but yeah,
stationary.
It's very complicated. There's no doubt about that.
That only works perfectly if it's stationary, because if the plane has to land in lockstep, perfect lockstep, the atmosphere that's not in perfect lockstep could never do that for the plane.
Okay. So you can talk about planes, right? But but first of all, we need to agree on the nature of it. We look at the globe model, right? How can we approach this? We can consider the globe model as described, right? And then describe what flight would look like on that model. Then we can look at the flat Earth model, well, whatever that happens to be, and what flight might look like. And I think we've had this conversation in text, and you can't really differentiate. You can't, as a pilot, you can't really tell the Earth is moving. Everything else dominates that rotation.
Only if it's stationary. You're in a separate reference frame. You can't just say it's in lockstep but not in lockstep. You can't have any variables.
So let's take a simplified scenario where there is no wind on Earth and the atmosphere is just rotating in perfect lockstep with the Earth. What would that look like for an aircraft?
It would just look like the Earth is stationary and there's no wind.
Yeah, so the aircraft is sitting on the Earth, traveling with it. It takes off. It's traveling with the Earth. It's traveling with the wind. So once the aircraft is airborne, the wind is determining its. It's the only thing it's really aware of, right? It has to look at the ground.
Okay, so it takes off. It takes off at 500 mile per hour latitude. It's going eastward with the rotation because it was on the ground, right? So now it's going to travel to the equator where it has to be traveling eastward at exactly 1,000 miles an hour. How does that happen again?
So it takes off. It's traveling with the Earth at the time it takes off. It's traveling through the air. It's traveling through the air, which is also traveling with the Earth, right? So the air is causing drag, and it's following a track along the ground. It gets to the equator.
The wind's going in opposite directions too, though.
Oh yeah, wind. Yeah, so wind's variable, right? But if we assume that
Yeah.
the wind is perfectly still, we've got a perfectly still day, right? We're
Well, the
traveling
not
from
wind is
Darwin.
making the plane go faster. The not wind, when there's no wind. The no wind is making it go faster eastward.
No, the air is moving with the Earth, and if you try and move against it, you'll get drag, right? So if you were a balloon on an Earth with perfectly still air, and you were let go, you would just stay in one place, right? Because the air would be moving with the
Wait, are
Earth.
you saying that if they go westward against the spin of the Earth, they can actually feel the resistance because the air's traveling in the other direction compared to going east with the Earth? There's a
No, no.
difference. You can measure that
The
difference.
only thing the only thing they would feel is the wind resistance. So if they're going faster than the wind, they'd feel drag.
Well, the wind's
So if
going
the
all
Earth,
directions. So we talking about winds, or we
yeah,
talking about the atmosphere?
we talk. Well, let's talk about a static atmosphere. Pretend there is no wind. So if you take off on your aircraft, it's a perfectly still day. You're at 40 degrees latitude and you're heading towards the equator. So you're taking off. It doesn't matter which way you go. If you're doing 100 knots, you're going to feel 100 knots of wind, right? And if
Sure.
you want
I'm
to
talking
travel
about
towards the
the
equator,
eastward tangential velocity. Just focus on the eastward tangential velocity has to double perfectly, exactly. What makes it
yeah.
do that? With winds going in all
So
directions?
if the air on average is traveling with the Earth, by the time you get to the equator, the air is also traveling with the Earth, right?
On average, it doesn't work. You can't say on average. You can't say pretty much. You can't say overall. The
You've
plane
got to
has to be
start
going
somewhere.
exactly the same speed as the ground it lands on. Exactly. Not 1 mile an hour different. It has to be
Okay.
so perfect that the pilot has no idea that the Earth is moving whatsoever. The
So
atmosphere is not even said to be in lockstep. So even if it worked like you hope, with the wind pushing it in the opposite direction, the atmosphere is not in lockstep, so it could never make the plane enough in lockstep to treat the Earth as stationary.
okay. So do you do you agree that on average, typically pilots follow a ground track?
No, I'm not
Have you
trying.
ever?
There's no path. This is a kamikaze pilot. There's no path. You don't get a path.
No, we've got to be flying
Kamikaze
somewhere.
pilot doing circles over many latitudes. He's going up to the North Pole. He's going down to the equator. He's traveling all over. He's going to find a clearing somewhere to land in around the equator, and he's going to be able to treat that clearing as perfectly stationary with no ground path and no landing mark. He just travels wherever he wants, and he's in perfect lockstep every single time.
We need to choose a scenario to discuss. You can't just keep changing the scenario
No,
and
that is that scenario. The scenario is
okay.
there's no ground path, and he lands in a clearing where he needs to be going twice as fast exactly than the place he took off from. And you know he could do that. He doesn't need a ground path to do that because the Earth is stationary.
The problem with what you're describing is that you think that he has to at some stage build up this big difference in speed between him and the Earth. But at no point in time
I
is
think it's
his speed.
stationary. I don't think there's any difference. I think he took off from a stationary Earth and he lands on a stationary Earth. That's the only way it could work perfectly. I don't think. I mean,
So,
if
so
you
I
think it's
agree with
spinning
you. You
ball,
can't
then
tell the difference, right?
there would have to be an eastward vector that doubles somehow without the pilot doing anything or knowing anything about it, because that
Yeah.
vector is
Okay.
not reading on any gauge inside the cockpit. The plane's going twice as fast eastward, even if he's going west southwest in the opposite direction. Somehow the pilot's got to be unaware that his plane has doubled its speed eastward, even though he's only going 100 miles an hour forward.
Okay. So what? How does the pilot gauge his speed? What does he use to measure his speed?
Like about airspeed or ground speed?
Good question. How does he measure ground speed? How does he measure airspeed?
Well, it's
Can
in
we agree that
relation
he
to a
can measure these
stationary
things?
Earth, the ground speed. It's in relation to a stationary Earth. The
The
speed
ground
of the
speed is in
plane in
relation to
relation
how
to a
fast he is
stationary Earth
traveling. The
has
ground speed
nothing to
is
do
how
with
fast he is
rotation.
traveling over the ground, right?
Wait, can you at least acknowledge that airspeed and ground speed do not account for rotation whatsoever? Can you agree to that?
Yeah, because those two
Yeah,
speeds are relative speeds, right? So the ground
they're
speed is the
relative to a
aircraft
stationary
speed.
ground.
You let me finish. The
Okay,
aircraft
it's a
speed
stationary
is
ground.
the
You agree
speed.
to that?
Aircraft speed is its speed relative to the ground. aircraft's airspeed is its speed relative to the air. They have no bearing to any other frame of reference. So if the Earth
So
is
don't you think if the
rotating,
ground were moving, that would make a difference in those speeds?
no, because they are relative speeds. They are speeds measured
What
compared to something else.
you're saying is that the ground could be stationary, and he's landing on the area where if it was a ball, the ground would be moving twice as fast as where he took off from. And you think there'd be
Not
no
relative
difference
to
in the
how
ground
fast he's
speed?
traveling at the time.
How does it
What?
how does it
Relative
determine the
speed.
speed, Gaza? Dazzle?
Sorry, what was that? I missed it.
How does it determine the speed though?
How does the aircraft determine its speed?
Yeah.
So, two ways. It will be measuring its airspeed through its instrumentation, and it'll typically be measuring its ground speed
How
if
does
it
it
can.
do it?
Ground speed or airspeed?
No, the airspeed.
Airspeed, usually through measuring the flow through some kind of a venturi or a pitot or something like that, where there's a pressure difference caused by the airflow. That's how it measures its airspeed. So it can measure
Oh,
how
so
fast the air is
wait.
flowing.
Then could that airspeed also measure how much it accelerated the plane to stay in sync with the ground that it is supposed to also be measuring against? Like the airspeed, that if it's accelerating the plane eastward in one direction, well, where's that airspeed? That has nothing
The
to do with what we're
airspeed,
talking about when you say airspeed. It's going
the
faster,
airspeed,
sideways, backwards, eastward. What?
so
What
the
would be the
airspeed,
actual speed of that vector? What would be the magnitude of that vector you're describing? Be specific.
Yeah, you'd have to be specific about that. Like you have to know
No, you
exactly
should
how
be
much
specific
the
because
plane is
you
being
claim
pushed
to understand
eastward.
this more than aeronautical
I'm
engineers.
not
So you need to
I'm
tell
claiming
me
that you don't
what
have an
that vector
answer for this
magnitude is. Go ahead. Go ahead,
for
buddy.
the
Tell me.
airplane
No, tell
accelerating
me.
eastward
I
in
don't
one
care.
direction.
I don't
When
want to hear
the
anything
Let's
else.
airspeed
calm
has
down,
Just
guys. We
nothing to
can't do
do with
this. We can't do it at the same
vector.
time.
this guy's not going to come in and try to like, oh, you have to tell me the exact magnitude of
Yeah,
something
because
that
you don't
you
know
think.
shit
Oh,
about aviation, you fucking moron.
All right, guys. So that was a complete train wreck. You guys seem to be insulting and interrupting. So I don't know if you guys can have a conversation or not. But yeah, that was really, really off the rails. You guys know we don't do that here, so I don't know what you're thinking. But could one of you guys go first? Otherwise, we'll leave you on mute and move on.
Dazzle was kind of engaging, and then this guy butted in. Go ahead, Dazzle.
Yeah. I'm just curious because that's the core problem that you're missing. What is the magnitude of the vector that's applied?
I don't think there is a magnitude applied. You'd have to come. That's your theory. I don't have anything to do with that.
Applied. Okay, well, try to steel man the model for us, buddy. Can you do that? Can you not
No,
straw
so
man
that's
the
why
model?
this is my argument. I cannot steel man your argument. You'd have to steel man it
Wait a
first
minute.
for there to be an argument. You have no answer for this.
So wait a minute. So every time that I come on Flat Earth Fridays and they ask me to steel man what Witsit says, I should just say I don't have to do that. Would you approve of me doing that in that context?
Go ahead and tell us the theory, and I'll steel man it for you. Go ahead, tell us what you.
No, you claim to already know this better than aeronautical engineers. So you tell me
No.
the magnitude of the vector applied to create the difference in speed that allows the plane to match the tangential velocity. Tell me, over the course for your little silly GIF, when you have a 500 mile per hour difference per distance or speed or unit of speed of time traveled, what is the magnitude of the vector? Be specific.
You just gave an example of Witsit saying something, and then you steel manning what Witsit said. So you have to give. I don't think it works at all. I can't steel man the planes flying on a spinning ball and treating it as stationary. That's
So
why I make this
you're
argument.
admitting that you
But
can't steel man the globe
you'd
model.
actually have to propose how it works, and then I could steel man what you're saying if it made any sense.
I'm just asking you a simple question because this is just, I mean, we're not even getting into the dynamics at this point. Just describe it kinematically.
The dynamics would not work at all. You can kinematically just do a
They
math equation and
absolutely
say
do because you don't know
You
the
guys,
basics.
please
Oh,
just
really?
go. You guys, hold on. You guys are talking over each other again. Can you just go one at a time? Is it at a minimum? Like, as long as nobody monologues, should be fine. I mean, we can mute and unmute, but it takes a lot of work for the mods to have to do that.
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
I don't feel like
Could you
Daza got
could
it said. We were getting somewhere with Daza, and then he came in and is like, "Tell me some numbers that you don't know, or you're wrong." You know, like that's not
Well,
where we're going.
it's a very
Mordwan, take a back
difficult
seat,
question
please.
because I've
Daza and
challenged.
I were getting somewhere, and we were at the peak when you come in and say, "Tell me the exact magnitude, because you understand all of this." No, it doesn't work because it's not a spinning ball.
So you admit
But
that you
that's the
have
next
no
step.
ability to steel man the globe claim. You openly admit that.
You'd have to make a claim first for me to steal man. You made no claim,
No,
dude.
go ahead. You just admitted you are incapable of
I admit
steel
it.
man
No, see what
the
he's
globe.
doing? You have to make a claim before I can steal man it. You don't even
Well, you
understand how it works.
already know what the claim is. It's been told to you dozens of times. And by the way,
I mean, you cut out. I don't know if you or not.
Yeah,
Can
I
you
think you're just trying to
imagine?
be disruptive and get in the way of the conversation.
Yeah, you'd have to actually make a claim first for me to steal man it. You know how that works. Well, you've heard it 100 times.
No,
No,
you
that doesn't
should be
work. You
able
have to
to
actually make a
explain at
claim.
this point
You actually have to
how the
explain it
globe model
yourself before I'll
works.
steal man it. Otherwise, I'm not talking to you. I was talking to Dazza.
Guys, we've heard a couple different ways that it works on the globe. That's why we're asking for an explanation before anyone steals man anything. So that's why he's asking. Because you guys seem to want to say that the air rotates with the Earth almost exactly, but not exactly, and therefore Coriolis does affect the route and this and that. So
No, that's
just
a straw
explain it
man.
once.
That's a straw man. The
I
Coriolis-
just asked a question. How could it be a straw man?
No, you presented. Did anyone say? Correct me if I'm wrong. Did anyone here say exactly what you said about Coriolis? Who said that?
Have this same argument like multiple.
Were you listening, Mordwan? He said over the years we've had many different explanations, and they go back and forth between different
Yeah,
ones.
but that's
So
not
if you're
true.
making a
Actually,
claim,
that's
you
not
want people
actually
to steal
true.
man.
That's not
Give your
actually true because
explanation first.
You have been given the specific explanation many times. And
Really?
you just
Which one was that? I've given many different, just like he says. There's many
You
different
lie. You
guesses.
lie about getting different
No,
explanations.
you can't come
Just
in
like
here and call someone a
you
liar,
showed up
dude.
in my server. You showed up in my
You're just
server.
here to disrupt.
You had 6. No, I'm not. I'm here to call you out on your fucking bullshit. You had 6 or 7.
You'd have to
If you're
actually
gonna
have a
call them
theory.
out, call them out on your own server. When you're in your server right now, we're in a different server. We're not having your bullshit over here, dude. There was a
If you want
conversation
someone to
going. There was
steal
a
man,
conversation going with this perspective, and that's it. And you just got all in the middle and destroyed the whole shit, dude. What's going on?
very
Well,
Mod?
just because New Perspective has been, refusing to engage with me on this topic in a public forum for weeks while posting videos criticizing me. So, But anyway,
no, not refusing, dude. You're not worth my time. You're not. You can't even respond in a text what you think. You've never steel manned your own side's argument. You've never steel manned what you think would have to happen
Yes, I
for
have.
the pilot to treat it. Go ahead,
Yes,
do it
I
right
have.
now for everybody. Do it
Yes,
for
I have.
everybody right now. Approve.
So you already know what the answer is. You already know.
See, he can't do it. You see, he can't do it.
No, I can do it, but I'm going to point out to you, because you have received the answer, the dynamic answer for this problem, at least I'm aware of at least 6 times.
And I keep saying, no, I haven't. You don't even know what
Yes,
you're
you
talking
have, you
about. And
fucking
still, here you
liar.
are not knowing what you're talking about,
Fucking
having to refer to
fraud.
something else I was
All
given.
right, dude, you
Do it
guys are
yourself.
you guys are doing it again. Hold on, Mordwand, you're reverting to personal attacks as well. You guys are all over talking again. So we need to figure out what to do, whether Dazza wants to continue or whether New Perspective and Mordwand want to hash this out. But if you do, I guess we can mute and unmute. So what do you guys want to do? New Perspective was in the convo with Dazza. So
Yeah.
Sorry,
Dazza was actually replying with specificity. Mordwan just wants to say, you were given the answers, and I can't say it, but I know you were given it. So if Mordwan wants to actually make a claim, then he can make a claim. Otherwise, I'm not going to just reply to his bullshit about you were already given it, even though I can't say it myself right now. Dazza was being very gentle and nice.
I'm just pointing out your dishonesty, that's all, because you already know what the answer is. You just don't want it to be true.
Bro, you've said that 8 times. Just say it or just back out.
So what is the answer, New Perspective? What is it? What have you been told?
Bro, you
tell me.
Say it.
No, I'm not going to play his game.
Then
You tell me
back
the
out,
answer.
dude.
I know that you know that I have told you personally, and that at least 5 or 6 people have told you personally, and you pretend that you get different answers from different Globers. Go ahead, tell me what
Now
the answer
wait, can't everybody here can tell you're pretending to know, but you actually don't know what
is.
the
No,
answer
I
was
don't.
given.
You are pretending and playing your little.
Hang on. This is
game.
absolute dog shit. Why are we letting this go on? Mordwand is just like shitting all over the chat. There's no coherent conversation.
There is
This
a
is garbage.
coherent conversation. Let it happen. Let it happen.
Yeah,
It's
well,
garbage.
the last
This is garbage.
for the flat earther that's on the ropes. That's what he does. So go ahead.
This is trash.
Go ahead, new perspective. Tell me the answer that I know that you know. I'll give you one last chance.
This is
Go ahead.
so.
Yeah,
What
but
is he
dude,
talking about?
This guy.
Yeah, laugh. You little.
He wants
Tell
you to
me
give me.
Yeah, now he just cussed at him.
He
Come on,
doesn't know
man.
the answer. Yeah, I've sent DMs to this guy explaining the whole thing, no response at all. And then he acts like I'm running away from him, and now he doesn't even know what he's talking about, and he
Okay.
can't even steel man his own argument. And he's saying you were told it,
Fine.
and I've been told
I'm
many
going to
different
tell
things over the years. You know that.
Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. This
Mordwand.
is recorded.
One sec.
I'm going
Take a
now
piss, bro.
going to explain what you've been told, and then I'm going to
Okay,
post all of the times that you have been given this explanation, and it will be evident to everyone.
That would be great. Do go for it. Go for it. You'll see like all these different answers that don't
No,
even
you
work
won't.
anyway. There is no dynamic answer for this, bro.
You are lying. You are actively lying to my face right now.
Dude, prove it. Prove it. Post what you got. Post it right there.
The answer that you have been given is that the atmosphere rotates with the Earth, and
It's not in lockstep. That's what we were talking about when you came in.
All right. So hold on. All right. So hold on. We're gonna reset. It sounds like new perspective. You want to go with Mordwand. So we're gonna go one at a time. I'm gonna mute you guys and unmute you one at a time. Please try not to monologue. But if you guys want to work this out, you can't have blurting interruptions because we just can't even hear. So Mordwand, go first. Try not to monologue. When you're done, I'm gonna mute you, and then we'll unmute new perspective, and we'll go back and forth like this. Because I already asked if you want to go with Daz. It sounds like he's going with you. So go ahead.
So the answer you've been given is quite simple. It's the atmospheric drag due to the rotation of the Earth. Now, you have misrepresented that as people saying it's a wind. It's not, because wind is defined relative to the surface, meaning that wind is embedded in that rotation. Kosho has given you a GIF showing you exactly how this works. When you came to my server, 6 different people told you the same thing, and then you said, oh, I have screenshots of your various attempts to explain the problem. So go ahead, pretend like that's not what you've been told.
Actually, I was just telling you, if you weren't even listening, when you came in and interrupted a perfectly good conversation between Daza and I was just saying to him, the atmosphere is not claimed to be in lockstep any longer by the ballers. They tried that, but you're kind of a new baller. They used to try to claim lockstep atmosphere. So pretty much exactly isn't good enough for landing a plane. Even if the atmosphere worked like you were supposed to, like you hope, right? Which is what I just said to Daza, it wouldn't be in lockstep enough to make the pilot able to treat the Earth as perfectly stationary. Even though I don't think it would work anyway. I could never steel man the dynamics for that because you got winds going the opposite direction, which is a variable that the atmosphere as a whole would have to like account for, and it doesn't work. You know, even if it worked that way, the way you wanted, it's not in lockstep anyway. Not even claimed to be. So it can't make the plane in lockstep. Is my point. Like I wasn't already saying that before you came in and started calling me a liar about some other shit you were making up. So funny.
And Mordwand, do you claim that?
No, hold on,
drag-
hold on, dude, hold on. It's a one-on-one with them, real quick.
So the phrase.
Hold on, you got to start over. Hold on, this is the problem when we have to mute and unmute. Is I was delayed doing it. You got to start over. Go ahead.
Okay, no worries. So I have never heard a Glober use the phrase lockstep atmosphere. That is a flat Earth straw man that you are claiming that Globers say. The rotation of the atmosphere does not have to be perfectly in sync, nor is it. And I would like you to demonstrate 2 things. And I challenged you to do this, and you flat out refuse. The first one is just sketch a simple free body diagram, and then tell me the magnitude of this effect that I'm claiming. That's number 1. Number two, determine how close in sync the surface rotation and the movement of the plane would have to be in order for it to land. Then number three, your last straw man claim is that pilots are trained to treat the Earth as flat and stationary. That is, I mean, the flat part, I guess you didn't say, the stationary part. That's not mentioned in any pilot text handbook that I'm aware of. So I'm not sure. That's another flat Earth straw man. So can you answer those 3 points?
All right, so for you misunderstood what I was saying to begin with. I said that the ballers used to claim lockstep atmosphere. Now they can't even do that because fluid dynamics, they had to admit, is not a lockstep atmosphere, right? So that wasn't straw manning. I'm saying that now they have to admit is not in lockstep, right? And then as far as your free body diagram and all that, like how it would work with the ball, that's your problem because it won't work with the pilot treating it as stationary, which is another thing that ballers freely admit. And this is the problem for your side of the argument ever since I've started arguing this is that they don't try to claim that the pilot treats the Earth as moving. And no, I mean we got left lane in here. He's like, I've never been taught about any Coriolis or any kind of curvature or any kind of moving Earth. I just land the plane like it's stationary, but that's because the atmosphere, which isn't even in lockstep to begin with, somehow makes me in lockstep. So that's the contradiction I've been pointing out this whole time. And you act like I'm trying to do something that you don't understand. You just don't understand it. And let me ask you this question. Let's just say that you find out that the pilot does treat it. You just ask left lane. Pilot treats the Earth as stationary. They don't have to account for the eastward tangential velocity. But let me just ask you, if that were true, then wouldn't the plane have to be in perfect sync with the runway for that to be the case?
So I asked you how close would they have to be for the pilot not to have to worry about that. You refused
Exactly. It would have to be in perfect lockstep. They would have to be in such perfect
All right, hold
lockstep.
on. Somebody unmuted him. I don't know if you unmuted yourself, dude. Please. It doesn't seem like you can do it. You too. So we have to just do mute and unmute. Sorry. Just go ahead, Mordwand.
Second question was challenging you to do a basic free body diagram and split up your scary 500 mile per hour number that you use to initiate new flat earthers into what it would actually be on a minute to minute basis. Because what you will find is that it is so small that for all intents and purposes, it's not even measurable from the perspective of the instruments. That doesn't mean it's not there. And you can do the math easily. So over 500 miles of tangential difference, as you phrase this problem in a very weird way, but I'll just rock with it. That's fine. Let's say that's 3,000 nautical miles. Per mile, how much adjustment is required? 500 divided by 3,000, right? And I'm pretty sure that's even an optimistic number for you because it would actually be greater. So you're completely ignoring the fact in your argument about the fact that this should somehow need to be accounted for by the pilot, that the effect on a mile-to-mile basis is minuscule, nor can you answer if there was a 0.0001 mile per hour difference in the runway and the airplane, if it would be able to land or not. And then I would like some documentation of a glober that has ever used the words lockstep atmosphere, because that's simply a straw man.
Okay. By the way, I messed up the muting before. It was me that did that. So sorry. All right, go ahead. New perspective.
Yeah, again, I'm not straw manning it saying that they say lockstep. That's my point, bro. I'm not saying they say lockstep anymore because they can't. They have to be honest about it being whatever they think imperfect, almost kind of, generally. It's just a concept, dude. It's just a kinematic concept. And you heard Daza, if you were listening at all, he's saying when there's no wind, right, on a perfectly calm day, that's the only time that we could even claim to be in lockstep because there's no wind. But if there are winds, that's when we know the atmosphere is not. In fact, they claim that the wind patterns and the wind directions and all that are caused by the atmosphere not being in lockstep with the Earth. And yeah, the plane would have to be in perfect lockstep, not just kind of, not just almost, not 0.001 or whatever you want to mathematically, kinematically say justifies your idea. you'd have to prove that the atmosphere pushes the plane to that speed eastwardly, even though there's westward winds going on all the time, and how that a strong westward wind wouldn't mess up that little bit of 0.0001. I mean, it's ridiculous, dude. Just like they were talking about before I came into the conversation with the blender. You're not going to have cherry going in the opposite direction of the blender. It's all going one direction. You can't have winds going the opposite directions if all of the air is going in one direction, affecting the plane perfectly to make it in perfect lockstep. So asking me how much they could give, or there is no movement of the Earth compared to the plane's movement. There is none. None. If there was, you could just stick a camera out the window and prove the Earth spins, and you'd have your globe.
So there's just so much that you don't understand. It's quite incredible. And I don't feel bad ad homing you because you always do the same thing to me. But let's go ahead and dive into that, because you just said something that indicates you have zero idea how basic physics works. You said if there's a point that it has to be perfectly in lockstep. So according to you, if there's a nanometer per hour movement of the Earth relative to the plane, it can't land. That's what you just said. Did you take that back?
I think that was back to you. By the way, the muting and unmuting is very labor intensive. So can you, I'm just going to leave you guys unmuted. So you see how it can be done, though. You guys can go back and forth. So if you could please not interrupt from here, because it had to be done from before. So but I think he asked you a question, new perspective. I'm just going to leave you guys unmuted. Please, though, just go one at a time if you're going to continue, because there's people listening. We want to hear what's being said. So
yeah, I just had someone asking me a question in real life here. Yeah, I guess he tried to straw man me or something about, like, I said that it could be like a nanometer off or whatever. There is no movement, dude. I mean, like, if the Earth is moving separately eastward from the plane's eastward movement, that would be very easy to detect. It doesn't matter if it's a nanometer or whatever. I mean, we have instruments that could detect that, and you'd be like, look, the Earth is moving separately from the plane eastward, and there you go. The Earth is actually moving.
So we do detect it. In fact, it's the basis for inertial navigation systems in flight, which I've talked to you about before, and you just dismiss it. But you just revealed again that you have zero idea how measurement or physics works, because you think that if there's a 1 nanometer difference, and the reason I brought it up, because you're using these words, you say perfect, you say lockstep, and they're just straw mans, because again, you have to claim then that if there's a 0.0001 nanometer difference, it can't land. So you don't know, and you can't tell me how big of a difference there would have to be for the plane not to land, can you? You can't tell me that. Go ahead.
Well, I would say a little bit would make a big difference. That's all. I'm not trying to say it would be what I mean. If we're moving at all eastwardly, and the planes move at an angle, there would be lots of little things going on all the time with the wheels breaking off or whatever. If there was a variable at all, I mean, can't you at least agree that if the pilot's treating it as stationary, it has to be in perfect sync?
No, I don't, because again, you just are revealing your complete ignorance of basic physics. What is the shear strength of a landing gear? Oh, you don't know.
It's not about basic physics, dude. Are you kidding me? You're saying there's a variable that the pilot has to deal with the eastward tangential velocity?
No,
And don't try to conflate winds. Don't try to conflate winds as moving the plane, and that's the same thing as the Earth moving. If the winds are moving the plane and the Earth's moving, it's two different things, bro. You sound ridiculous to everybody here.
I never said the wind moves the plane. That's another straw man. And if you go back, the record will show that I said it's not a wind, it is the rotation of the atmosphere. You just also said it again. You said if the Earth moves at all, that is an absolute statement, the pilot can't land. And you think that the landing gear would break off. I think really what's going on here is you're incapable of understanding that the rotational rate of the Earth and the tangential velocity is not measured in reference to the airplane and the Earth. It's to the inertial space, which is relative to the stars. So when you think about the Earth rotating, you can't conceptualize in your mind how that works. And it's evident.
Any personal attacks is going to be let go.
Yeah, you don't need to attack me, dude. You don't know the arguments. The reason I said winds Wasn't
argument.
because of
Lion, are
atmosphere
you there,
compared to the
Lion?
wind. Anyway, what are you trying to get Lion for?
Oh, he's a mod. So
Oh, yeah. Anyway, we could do it. It's okay. Mordwand, just relax until I finish this. Okay.
No, I'm listening, dude.
Yeah, the reason I said wins in this case is because a lot of times when we get to this point with ballers, and you say, "Oh well, if it has to be in sync with the runway?" Well, no, it doesn't have to be in sync. We could have winds pushing the planes, and you've seen them try to combat winds while landing, and then they're conflating the idea that winds might be pushing the plane sideways to the Earth actually moving at a different tangential velocity than the plane's eastward tangential velocity. Right? That's the reason I mentioned that. Not because I was talking about the atmosphere compared to winds, but the thing is that if you want to challenge if you want to propose the idea that the Earth could be moving eastward at a different rate than the plane, and the pilot could treat it as stationary up to a certain amount of difference, what would that difference be? How fast can the Earth be moving faster than the plane before it causes a problem?
Would you like me to simulate it for you and get back to you?
Yeah, you can try. I don't think it would matter, dude. You don't know the argument.
Oh no,
You don't know what you're talking about. Everyone here knows that.
I can
Everything I look up, it says it's in lockstep, Mordwand.
Capable of understanding. You just said it. You said it again. You make absolute statements. If the Earth was moving at all, they couldn't land. Perfect. Lockstep. You use these words in a very deceptive way because I think you know deep down that if it moved by a nanometer in every year, the pilot would have no problem landing, right? Can we agree on that?
You don't even know the argument. Coming into this, you said, I've never heard that pilots treat the Earth as stationary. If you don't even know that much, then why are you trying to challenge anybody on this kind of argument? The pilots treat the Earth as perfectly stationary. Whatever nanometers you want to add into that you can say is an acceptable level of movement, you could do that. But I mean, then it could be an inch, it could be a mile, it could be, if you're talking about a variable where the Earth is moving eastward as the plane is trying to land on it, then you got a problem that you don't even understand yourself.
Yeah, so I understand more about this than you ever could because you're incapable of doing basic math. But I'll ask you again because I want to get to a discussion that anyone should be able to get to. If the Earth moved at a nanometer per year, would the pilot be able to land on the runway as if it were stationary? Yes or no?
Dude, this is the most ridiculous argument about planes I've ever had. A nanometer a year? So how do you figure that? Why is that even something you would say? Like they figured out it would only be a nanometer a year.
Notice that he knows his tracks. He refuses to answer the question. So I'll ask it again. How about a nanometer century? Would he be able to land then?
What the hell?
Dude, the Earth isn't moving separately from the plane. That's the point.
Yeah,
you're just being ridiculous.
You won't answer the question, will you?
Dude, I have no idea. Nobody would have any idea.
Why does the upper atmosphere move faster, Mordwand?
Why are my brain cells depleting?
Mordwand, why does the upper atmosphere, you know everything about this, why does it move faster than the lower layers?
Why does the speed increase? I don't know.
With altitude. Yeah, well, you know everything about this, though.
No, I don't know everything about it. I just know better than someone that can't even answer a basic question. If the Earth moved in a nanometer per century, if the pilot would be able to land. And the reason he won't answer it is because he's trapped on his deception. And everyone in this chat knows well that if it moved by a nanometer per century, the pilot would be able to. Which means
that's so funny. Oh my God, it's so funny. I'm so afraid of your argument about nanometers. A century.
Is that the